ding when that happens. So cool. Well, uh, do you have any introduction you want to do, Janice? Or should I just get into things? Okay. Well, hey, I'm Shane. I'm a teacher with 4Geeks Academy. Today we're going to be doing basically an abbreviated version of one of the classes that we do during the full stack development course. We're going to be building a to-do list app in React. So we have some core functionality we need to get. Basically, we need to be able to add a to-do. We need to be able to remove a to-do. And realistically, I'd like to make it so that we have the ability to mark a to-do as done so that it can actually set it as done without removing it from the list. Just so we can get that nice serotonin from checking something off a list or crossing it off the list. But yeah, cool. In that case, let's get rolling on. There's the thing that I want to share. So cool. Okay, so 1 second. I have to. There. That should be better. I have my screen set up so that I can doodle, but I wanted to be able to swap between the two screens that I have really easily. And unfortunately, this leads to occasionally I press the wrong button and you'll see mouse trails everywhere. So get ready for a little bit of that. It's a new workflow for me. But yeah, our to-do list. Let's also there. So our to-do list app is going to look something like this. We're going to have a place where we can input our to-dos. We might have a submit button. We might just listen to when somebody hits the return button. Or we might do both. It depends on what we have time for. And then there's going to be a list of to-do items. I'm going to give you a nice zoomed in view of to-do item. So to-do item in our ideal universe is going to have a delete button. That could be a trash can. It could be a circle with a bar sinister. Let's give it a checkbox, and then we'll have the text of our to-do in here. So all of our to-do list items are going to look like that, something like that. And then finally, 1 second. And then finally, we're going to have a little piece of interface down here, which is going to say, well, in this case, there's 4 different to-dos on this list. So down here, it's going to say 4 to-dos left. And as we all know, you have to finish drawing the rectangle around the word left before you actually put the T in. It's actually kind of required. Cool. So yeah, everybody have a like a vague idea of what we want this to look like at this point? Yeah. Okay. So this is the oh yeah. 1 second. Let me open up the queue. But go ahead.
So your previous question before you continue to ask if anybody have an idea of what we want the to-do list to look like, was that your question?
I was just. Can you guys look at this doodle that I have here and imagine what the actual application is going to look like at this point? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So honestly, our next bit here is we're going to have to think about how we're going to store these to-dos in the application. So we can't just tell JavaScript, hey, we want a to-do here. Because JavaScript doesn't have any concept of what a to-do looks like. So we need to have some way to store that, and we have to have some way to um, recall that later. In this case, due to time constraints, what we're going to do is our list of to-dos is going to be an array of objects. If you don't have a lot of, or if you don't have a lot of practice with JavaScript or programming, what an array is an array is a way to store related values in an order, basically. So you can make an array that contains the number 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, etc. And you could call that array Fibonacci. And that would be an array that contains numbers from the Fibonacci sequence. So you could recall any number from the Fibonacci sequence by doing like, so Fibonacci 0 would be equal to 1, Fibonacci 3 would be 5, and so on and so forth. And then an object is a way to store related data. It's basically information. There's properties and values about an object. So you can think of an object as like an everyday object. So for example, just something within arm's reach, the state measure. One of the properties of the state measure is that it's yellow. Another property is that the total length of the tape is 12 foot. So we could represent that as an object, which would look something like I had the momentary desire to try to convert this to meters, because that is just dealing with stuff in meters is better. Don't tell anybody. They might. But yeah, so this would be an object. We'd call it tape measure. And that object contains all the properties, or all the properties that we care about this tape measure object. So yeah. Let's exit pen mode so I can scroll back up here. So this to-do list is going to be an array of objects. Each object is going, I shouldn't have left pen mode quite yet. So each object is going to have two properties. I'm going to call one of them label. So and then the other one is going to be called is done. And that will either be true or false. So if you've done your task, in this case, if I pet my cat, I can mark it as done. And then if you haven't, you would it would be false. So cool. Let's hop back over here. So let's actually get rolling on building this out. Cool. Okay, just confirming, everybody can see my code. Is this big enough for you guys? Do you need me to zoom in at all? I can zoom it in if it makes it easier for you guys to read. Okay, cool. Awesome. Also, if you want to follow along, I have a copy of the repository. You can either open this up in code spaces or clone it to your local computer to follow along. I'm not running off the default 4Geeks template at the moment because I wanted to do something very, very simple. And the 4Geeks template does a lot of things that are really nice. But I wanted to do this in like, I don't know, 2 different files. So cool. If you don't want to follow along, if you just want to watch what I'm doing, that is completely all right. Let's hide the stuff there. Cool. Okay, so first step, I need to actually install this. So what's happening here is a program called NPM is just collecting all the JavaScript files that make up React and the various related programs that are going to be used to actually run this. Also, I was kind of expecting this to be a little faster, but there we go. And then npm run dev. Cool. Okay, and just like that, we have something that it's not a horribly complicated React app. This is just the default that comes with the V template, but we've already got a an interactive application up. I'm probably not going to need the terminal for the rest of this, so I'm going to just minimize the terminal here just to give me some more screen real estate. And then in here, let's get rid of all of this and just start sketching out what the app is going to look like. Let's see. I'm not going to need that at the moment. I will need that, but I'll just import that later. And let's just open this. I'm getting rid of a lot of boilerplate here because I'm going to be doing this in Bootstrap. I'm going to be doing this with Bootstrap for the styling because it's honestly very nice. It has a lot of the base stuff done for you already. and it's great. Let's see. And then I have one more thing that I want to add here. I'm going to swap to dark mode. That way, you know, my whole screen is roughly the same color. AKA really hard to see if you're if it's or really hard to read if it's nighttime. Let's see. Okay, cool. Nope. That one. 1 second. That is. I'm translating back and forth between, or swapping back and forth between Bootstrap and React a lot as well. So, not React, Bootstrap and. Okay, so the first command that you're going to run is going to be npm install, and absolutely no problem now. npm install will. I just assumed that you have Node there. If you don't, if npm install doesn't work, I can quickly run you through how to spin this up in a code space. Awesome, cool. npm install to install it, then npm run dev to actually start your project. Cool. And that'll be. Let me toss this into chat. So if you just want to copy and paste that. Okay. Let's see. Let's do display flex and then flex column. 1 second. I'm going to do some fancy stuff here. Okay. So we've got this. We've got this flex column. I want to. Let's see. Let's hop back here because that's better. I had so what I just did here was I made the container or this div that the application ends up in be a fluid container. In Bootstrap, a fluid container is just a container that spans from one side of the screen to the other in all situations, usually. So when we hop back over here and I inspect this bit, you can see that this container goes all the way from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. And then this container has some spacing between those, which is going to make my life a little easier as I want align items center. Cool. And then I want, it's not going to appear any different to you from what I did because there's only one item here and this container is fairly small. But I just swapped align item center. You can see when I disable that CSS property, the to-do list hops back over to the side, and then I did justify content to the beginning of the Flex container, so that everything will end up at the top of the container when I'm actually dealing with stuff down the line. Cool. Okay, so let me quickly go back to my documentation because I want it to be align items center. And justify, what was that? Justify content start. Cool. Okay. Our next bit of interface is going to be a text input, which again, Bootstrap has some pretty good styling options on those. Although I'm actually going to swap this to a form, which this is me cheating and going ahead a bit. Turning this into a form allows me to do make the submit function really nice. Okay. Let's do it with this one. So our input is going to be, I kind of like the large input here. Oh, I'm going to just go and do some of that. I need to remember to swap this to class name. And its placeholder is going to be what do you want to get done today? Let's not make it too excited. Cool. We'll get back to actually making that do some stuff in a little bit. For now, let's figure out what we want our actual to-dos to look like. So, nah, I don't want that to be a div.card. I just want that to be a div.todo item. So we've got a couple things that we want on this to do. We want our input, we want our checkbox. We can style that down the line. We have our to-do text. So that is going to be I'm going to make that a span. I don't want it to break onto a new line or anything. Let's make it a more realistic to do. And then finally, we want a button to press to delete the to-do. Yeah, that's probably a good enough place to start. Let's make this strong. I don't like it as strong. Oops. I still had my rectangle select there. Cool. We have some styling that needs to get done because right now this is super squished. And that's going to be dot to do item. Width is going to be 100% or min width. I'm going to make this a display flex. Flex direction is row. Might help if I have a colon here. And then I want justify content space between. Actually, no. Let's do this as flex start. And then we'll give it a gap of, I don't know, 0.5 rem. And then we'll do one last thing, which is align items center. You'll note that this is basically the same thing that I did here, except I just did it as CSS. And also as a row instead of a column. This is definitely, you know, less characters than this, but cool. Our next thing is dot to do item. We want to select buttons in our to do item. Well, let's give it a margin left of auto, just to shove that all the way over on the right. And honestly, that'll do fine. That'll do fine for now. Cool. Okay, so that's a question that is the best answer is it depends on what you're doing. Juan, for people who are watching later, Juan is asking which one is better and easier to learn, Bootstrap or Tailwind CSS. Bootstrap is definitely easier. Bootstrap has really, really good documentation. It provides really solid examples of all sorts of things and what they can look like. Its documentation is basically in plain text, it's basically in plain language, which is really, really nice. It is from the get-go, it is slightly less flexible than Tailwind CSS. Because Tailwind CSS doesn't have any. I mean, you can pay money to get pre-built components with Tailwind CSS, but then you're paying money to get basically what you have with Bootstrap. Tailwind has no concept of a component. It doesn't have all of this stuff. Yeah, if you want to just like copy and paste components, Bootstrap is great. If you actually want to build something, Bootstrap is still great. These days, I'm using Tailwind the most in my personal projects. And in my professional projects, I'm using a lot more Bootstrap. Mostly because my professional projects are things that are I mean, I don't have as much control over them. So it is also a lot more work to get Tailwind up and running. Just putting that out there. But once you get Tailwind up and running, it's great. Bootstrap was let's see. To actually get Bootstrap running, I added this CSS link and this script tag, and it was there. So the answer is it's a trade-off. It depends on how much work you're willing to put into actually getting your your application up and running. Let's see. Okay, cool. So we've got a mock-up of a to-do list. It doesn't actually do things yet. And I would like this to be, actually we can achieve the crossing that out without having to change anything. So this will be input that's selected. Checked. Oh yeah, no, that's man, there's a CSS selector here to do that. One second. Watch me do some quick Googling. Checked. There it is. Checked. Okay. It's input : checked. That's what it is. So input : checked. And then span dot to do text. Display. No. Text decoration. Let's see. I want font weight. Let's drop it down to 300. I don't remember how to do text decoration line through. Really? And I want CSS italics, font style there. Okay. So yeah, it was literally right there. And then cool. So this way, when we actually select our, or when we mark our to do as done, it gets pretty. It looks there, and then, and we'll make it, fade out a bit. Cool. I wish the oh, actually, I know how I can do that. Let's do span dot to do dash text, and then we'll do the transition that way, and that should cool. There, now it feels like it's actually doing something. The real catch is we actually need to make this do something now. And we are running a little bit behind schedule, I think, but yeah, let's make this actually do something. So we've got our HTML, we've got our core, we've got the appearance of the core application. I just grabbed a copy of that because I'm going to make a to-do item. And then in here, I'm going to have a property for label and a property for is done. And this is going to return, nope, not that. I want this to return all of this. Cool. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just made another component. This component is going to be a to-do item. We're going to replace the stuff that I hand typed already with variables. Why am I getting red squiggly? Oh, I'm getting red squiggly underlines because I haven't done some I haven't set up prop types. Cool. What a component is basically we've just turned this whole bit of HTML into another HTML tag. So we can set the label to do and cool. So we've basically made this to-do item HTML tag that we can just insert into our HTML or into our React application. Cool. We have one more thing to add to this. And this is going to be, I'm going to pass in an on-click event. And actually, I'm just going to pass it by reference here. Yeah, no, I'm going to pass it by reference. I had to think about that one for a second. Cool. Now you'll notice that I can't click this anymore. What's happened is I've taken this value and I've hard coded this value because this value determines whether or not this checkbox is checked. I have one thing I forgot to do. All right. Let's pass this in as an on-change event. So I'm going to rename this one. And let's get rid of that. Cool. So this is going to be a function that when this input is clicked, it's going to change the state of this checkbox. We don't want to put any state into this, and I'll explain state in a second, because we don't want this to have any authority over the parent application. But yeah, what state is. So React has a tool or a series of tool called hooks. They're ways that you can get into or have access to um, parts of the life cycle of a component, um, and ways that you can basically declare variables that React will care about. So um, and we're going to do that with the use state hook. So use state is one of these hooks. What it does is basically it makes a variable that React cares about. So I'm just going to make one that's going to be a temporary throwaway. Um, uh, this is going to be a use state, and it's going to have a label, and that is give the cats some tuna cans. And it's going to have an is done property, which is false. So we can change this one to be item dot label. The is done is going to be item dot is done. And you'll notice that when I save this doesn't change anything over here. But we still do need to provide some functionality. So I'm going to rename both of those as well. So I need toggle to do. So toggle to do is going to be an anonymous function. So and all I'm going to do here is write a function that toggles this. Second, toggle to do is, there it goes. Let's see. Well, time to quickly hop over to here and look at the console. Okay, I provided a checked prop into a form field with an on change handler. Okay, cool. So I want that to be on change. That would be up here on change. So when I refresh this, did I not save that? Input checkbox, checked is done. Oh, I know exactly what I did here. Okay, so I did something very silly here. Use state provides, or the function use state returns two things. It returns an item you cannot change, and then it provides you a function that you can use to change it. So, ooh, that is a new bug. Oh, I know why that's a new bug. I was just turning an object into a Boolean. Okay. So yeah, it now does what we want. Let's refresh this. I could animate the italics by using a skew there. I think I'd like that, but I'm not going to do that right now. Cool. So we've got this working, except for the delete item. We've got this working for one to do. I'm going to delete this throwaway use state, which is going to break some stuff, and then I'm going to cut this because we're going to do some fancy stuff here. I'm opening some squiggly braces here because in the context of this part of a JSX file, what the squiggly braces mean is I want to write some JavaScript here. And I'm going to use probably my favorite function in all of JavaScript, which is map. And map is going to allow me to iterate over an array and make a new version of the array that in this case is going to contain some or is going to contain HTML versions of this. Let's see. Okay, it is really mad at me at the moment. Give me a second to figure out. I want to get rid of. Let's see. This opens. This opens. I want. A second. That is the close of that. That is the close of that. I need. Cool. Okay. So map takes a function. In this case, I'm asking it, I'm providing a parameter in this function for the actual item from this array, and then one for the index of the item in the array. That's mostly to shut up the linter. Here. We're going to need to rewrite this function quickly. So let's see. I need to quickly spliced. What are your arguments? MDN to spliced. So to spliced, great function. Okay, so I need my index at the beginning. It'll be index 1 and then my new object. So to spliced, index 1, and then this. So what I'm doing here is I need to actually do one more thing here because I just turned that into something that is not an array. Oh, no. I did that correctly. Yeah, okay, cool. And also let's toss in a cool. Okay, so we've got our functionality back. Uh, okay, cool. Just making sure that this works on both counts. Awesome. So we've got our functionality for marking to-dos is done. It works nicely. So all we need to do now is get our functionality for deleting to-dos, which is going to be a very similar function. It is going to be delete to-do. But we can get rid of this. So when I delete, I just remembered that I did this to myself. Okay, on submit. So on submit is an event. It takes a function that is going to pass you an event, and in this case, what I'm doing here is I'm just saying that, hey, when I submit this form, I don't want you to reload the page because the default behavior for forms is you reload the page. So yeah, that delete button now actually gets rid of this. And let's hop over here quickly. So if we look at this app, we can see that in our state, and let's make this bigger so that you can see it more easily. So in our state, we have our objects. We have they have the property is done false and labels gives the cats the tuna. And when I delete one, it removes that from our use state hook. And when I mark this one as done, it swaps that to true. So cool. So we've got our delete functionality working. We've got our toggle functionality working. And now all we need to do is have the functionality of adding a to-do. And that's actually going to happen in here. Although we do need one more state. No, not set interval, set inputs. So this is going to be use state again. We're going to set it to a string because it's going to be, we're going to turn this into a controlled form. This is going to have a value of to do input, and we're going to have an on change event again. This is going to take an event, which I'm going to abbreviate as EV. And this we're going to set to do input to ev.target.value. And this just means that, and I will hop over here to show you. So this second state over here, this one, is that. So open a third can of tuna for the cats. And you can see that as I type in there, this gets filled out. And then when I get rid of this, that gets cleared out. So we're using the state here to actually keep track of what's in the input, so that when we come over here, we can say, hey, let's prevent the default behavior of this form. And then we can set to-dos to be a new to-do, and then the rest of the to-dos. The label will be to-do input, and is done will be false because it's a new to-do. It's obviously not done. And then we can set to-do input to be an empty string again. And I'm going to do one quick check, which is if to-do input dot length is greater than 0. And this is just so that we don't fill our to-do list with a whole bunch of empty to-dos. So like, oh wait, 1 second. If to-do input dot length is greater than 0. What? Oh, I know exactly what's happening here. Okay, this is a weird edge case. Weird edge case that I've experienced twice in the past month. When I hit return, these buttons are activating. And I have to look up the property here. Welcome to Googling 101. Let's see. Okay, so I want the type to be button. Oops. That's much better. So cool. So now we have all that functionality. We can add to-dos to our to-do list. We can delete to-dos. The only thing that we don't have at this moment is save is like making our to-do list save past page loads. Oh, actually, we do have one last thing that we're missing. And that's this. So cool. Now, unfortunately, the way that we have this set up, that number is not updating when we mark these. So one second. We need item, and then we want item dot is done here. I had to think about that quickly. So I just need to invert that. Cool. So now we have all of that functionality done. We've got a couple of quality of life things that we could do. Like we could make this repopulate your to-dos when you refresh the page, using local storage. We could hook this up to an API so that it's saved somewhere out on the cloud. And quickly just going over what this is. To-dos.filter. So the .filter function makes a new array based on the function here. So if a value is true based on this function, then that item's in the array. Otherwise, it's not. So we're saying if an item is not done, it is counted. Otherwise, it's not counted in this. So cool. We've got we're a couple minutes over at this point. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything I can explain to you, explain better in this? And do you want me to take the 5 or so minutes um, to make it so that I can refresh this page and we get the same list of to-dos? We can do that pretty quickly. No questions? Okay. Well, yeah, cool. We'll take the 5 minutes to make it survive past page refreshes. So that is going to be using another React hook called use effect. Okay. So use effect gives a side effect to a variable changing or a piece of state changing. So in this case, I'm writing a use effect. To run this code anytime that the variable to-dos changes. And I'm using local storage here. So let's quickly hop over here and inspect the page. And I need to go over to application and local storage. And I'm just going to, you can actually see here, I already have the keys to do. It has an empty value. So you can see when I change the state of the application, this local storage changes. When I refresh the page, it gets set back to nothing, unfortunately, because I have one more thing that we need to do. And that is we need to write another use effect. This one is going to have an empty dependency array, this thing here. So what it's going to do is it's going to run this function at the beginning of the when the component loads. So if to-dos exists as a key on this, So what happens with local storage.get item is if there is no item, you get null as a value. Null is falsy. So if to-dos is actually an item, we can set to-dos to be JSON.parse to, oh, 1 second, const local to-dos. I almost wrote some really bad code there. So what we're doing is if there are already to-dos from in our local storage, it's going to set to-dos to those to-dos. So let's hop over here. So let's say we want to pet all the cats that want to be pet. Oh, that is, it's running the other function as well. We can actually see this here. If we do a console.log, so you can see that, let's clear out this. You can see that the on mount use effect and the on change, all these are, yeah. We have, okay, so that on change use effect happened. If we check application local storage, that's there. When I refresh the page, okay, I know what's happening. Okay, so what's happening? Is to-dos is initialized as an empty array that changes to-dos, which is triggering this use effect and is writing the empty to-dos to local storage. So now when we refresh the page, it stays. When we change this, it stays. When we delete it, it's going to have an issue, but we can fix that by just going down to the delete to do. Actually, no. Actually, yeah, we want to do this because we want to be able to have our to-do list be empty. Oh. So we want to set to-dos, and I just, okay, so let's see. That'll be, that's open squiggly brace. Let's see, open, close, open. There. Sorry, I got myself into a situation with nested things. Okay, so when we delete this, it is still not running and doing what we want. Um, so let's do it that way. So when we delete this, cool. Now that we delete that, it will, we can add and delete single to-dos, and that gets our nice edge case out of the way. Cool. Okay, yeah, that was like 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes. So it is time to call this. I'm going to first, I'm going to make sure that you guys have access to the code from today's um, tutorial. And then git push. Cool. Okay, so all the code from today is available at this URL. And yeah, let's stop presenting. We're down to 60 you guys. Okay, so obligatory last minute plug. If you want more, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, if you want to pursue, more educated, or if you want to actually take this course, you can find out more about this at 4geeksacademy.com. I am one of the teachers of the full stack development cohort. There are a lot of teachers that I've worked with there. I like all the ones that I worked with, and so on and so forth. That I just realized that made it sound kind of insincere. I genuinely like the people I work with. Actually, Donald here is one of the TAs. He's really cool. I like the dude. I've very much enjoyed my time working with him. Um, yeah, cool. Um, okay. Thank you guys for coming. And at this point, I'm going to stop the recording. So.